Hey, Or.
Hey, Al. How you doing, man?
Doing good. How are you?
Pretty good. So, what are we gonna do today?
So I thought we could have another bass lesson on the keyboards today.
That's an awesome idea. It's been a while since our last one, so I think it's just about time.
Yeah.
How do you want to start?
So, we've been working really hard together to do this bass fingers plugin.
Right.
And it's cool. It's been a lot of fun to do it. But now that it's done and it's out, I want to know more about how to play more like you.
Yeah, how to actually play bass.
Yeah.
Right, that's cool. We can start off by something simple and then make it more complex as we go along, like everything we do.
Right.
So I think you're already set up to play something like this.
So
Pretty simple. Yeah, it took me way longer to figure this out, so way to go. One of the more important elements in playing bass is actually choosing the right location to play the same pitch, because let's take this E, for example. We can play it at exactly the same pitch, but in different positions and different locations on the fretboard.
Huh.
And as you can hear, I'll play it again. It's exactly the same, but the voice kind of changes and becomes more rich in the low end and low mids, and less kind of punchy and trebly.
Yeah, that's interesting because as a keyboard player, I'm not used to that at all. Like I
Right.
have the one E that's here or the one
Yeah.
A that's here, and that's it.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. Sight reading on these instruments is you got to think ahead because the same pitch is located in different places.
Huh.
But that also helps us kind of create a lot of variety in the tone. So how about we take that same phrase and move it around on the fretboard with the position selector.
All right.
So play the same thing, but move to a position 5. It should sound something like this.
Awesome. So I did map this to the different keys. So I got
Right.
position 0 here, which we started with, and I got position 5 here. So that would be 0.
Yeah,
That would be 5, right? So
exactly.
So the first one was, and this one is
Exactly. Yeah, that makes a huge difference when you're in a band context. Sometimes when you work, let's say when you accompany certain styles, or if there's a prominent singer, you want to avoid the open strings and all the positions that kind of give out a more trebly, high midi tone and compete for that range, right? So if you want to go even a bit darker, you can play the same phrase and move to position 10.
so
Yeah, but as you can see right now, you're playing on the same string because you didn't unlock the B string. So you can go to the string range and kind of move the slider to also include the B string, and then you'll be able to play something like this. Right.
so dark.
Yeah, but check out something cool, right? I noticed that we unlocked the B string, so you're also getting the closed E. But you can actually activate open strings and then get exactly what I'm playing, right? So now the E string will always remain open. Yeah, so now try playing. Right,
So I'm getting the darker tone, but I'm
Yeah.
still getting this.
this bright, big. Yeah, usually when an open string is like the root note of a chord or a song, it's really nice to kind of land on the one with a big bright tone, and then have maybe the rest of the notes be darker. And also that's part of the advantage of moving along the fretboard. Sometimes in the same song you'll play all over the place just to have like the right note in the right position for a part.
That's cool. I'm so not used to this as a keyboard player. I just like
Yeah.
to think of the one note that I have to
Right,
play, and
right.
that's it. Or maybe I'll change the patch, but I'll never go to the same or to a different note on the instrument where I'm actually playing the same
Yeah,
pitch.
because you basically have one position for each pitch. But
Right.
yeah, it's an interesting difference, I think, between the instruments. And I think it's also like, in terms of tone, it's the best EQ ever.
Right.
Like instead of changing knobs or anything, just researching like positions for notes and seeing the difference in the mix It's something I think every bass player should have like as a first tool in his toolbox.
Totally.
Yeah.
But also it's harder to learn, right? Because
Yeah.
you got to learn all the positions.
Yeah, at first, like you start by dividing it into boxes, in kind of the same way that the plugin operates in a way, and that creates a lot of order. But then you start to think of the instrument in a more complete way, and then you progress from there.
Awesome.
Um,
So this is cool,
Yeah.
but in a lot of tracks that I produce, one of the things that I want to do is play in a bit more, rock style,
Yeah.
something rocking that's driving with the band.
Yeah.
That's something that's a bit hard to do for me as a keyboard player.
I think I played some of these tracks, so I
Right.
know what you mean. Cool. So I think, like for me, I mean, I grew up listening to rock, and a lot of bass players in rock and metal actually took fingerstyle playing to a more extreme place,
Yeah.
and got around to kind of spanking the strings harder and creating these crazy attacks. And we actually have that, but you'll have to do like you'll have to limit your velocity to that range in order to get those attacks. So if you want to go ahead and change the velocity slider to the last, let's say, 4,
All right. So that's interesting, right? I want to listen to it for a second because you're saying basically the velocity is like more of the sound, right?
yeah,
So, because like when I'm playing this, like that's really mellow, right? I have to
Yeah.
kind of
yeah,
kind of
exactly.
push the instrument forward.
Yeah, exactly.
So let me bring up the slider.
You can actually have it, let's say, from 5 to 8 would be the range that I would play these tracks that you mentioned.
So
Yeah.
I get a lot of like buzz and noise out of the instrument.
Yeah,
right?
but we can do the same thing as before. If you want to get rid of that and kind of put it in a better context, the actual riff you're about to play, I would play on position number 5.
So
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? Try not to do it as hard. Try to, right now we have it limited, so you don't have to worry that much about hitting the right, let's say, velocity to have it really explosive. Just try to flow with the phrase and hear how it's distributed automatically to your playing, right?
Right.
So I'll just play the riff like this.
right.
Right?
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, that's pretty cool because you can see right now that let's say your minimal velocity is still very punchy and aggressive, and then when your hand naturally kind of hits the keyboard harder in the same way my hand does, you get that explosive kind of plucking noise. Yeah, and those artifacts that come with all that styling of heavy playing.
Pretty cool. So
Yeah. Oh, one last thing. Limit the B string again, like avoid the B string again if you want to get it just right. So now you'll get that F sharp on the E string. Yeah. Yeah,
that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, that's the tone. Exactly. Yeah, that sounds great. I'm sorry to say it's like it's my samples and it's saying it sounds great. I'm just excited.
All right, so this is cool, but
Yeah.
I'm a keyboard player and I know this is a bass,
Mm-hmm.
but we like to play chords. We were kind of bored with just playing single
Yeah.
note all
I
the
like
time.
playing root notes. It's like all that chord stuff is really confusing, minor and major.
I like to play anything but the root note.
Yeah,
Anything but the
that's
roots.
why we work well together. So try and play some chords. Yeah.
All right.
You can just go ahead and do that, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so
How about you start on the 0 position though?
So it's first of all really muddy.
Yeah. Yeah, you're also not getting all the voices that you're actually playing. So
Yeah.
let's figure out what's going on, all right?
All right.
Let's try and play G minor chord, G, D, and B flat, but on an octave higher, right?
Right.
Because
So
when playing bass, but yeah, exactly. But you can hear it's it's not the most appealing tone to that chord.
Yeah.
So a cool thing to do would be to have the position slider way up here on fret 15. I think you have that mapped. Yeah. Now try that chord, but shift an octave higher, and you should get something beautiful. Yeah. Oh, but keep in mind you're on the higher velocity, so you're kind of beating that chord up, which can also work actually. But yeah, that sounds great.
So
yeah, you're getting fancy now.
So there's something nice about how this is kind of distributed, right?
Yeah.
There's a nice timbre to it, right? Right, there's something nice about the fact that you get this correct polyphony here, but then this kind of limits me, so I got like a legato sample here.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the plugin, not just a plugin, but a bass kind of keeps you in context in that way, because the voicings that I would use, I basically, each string is able to produce a single note.
Yeah.
So I only have a maximum of, let's say, 5 notes that I can play simultaneously, as opposed to a keyboard player who can just like lay down on the keyboard. But that creates kind of very interesting voices and very interesting soprano movements within the chord, like you just did something like. And having that legato on the upper voice is something I think fairly unique to playing chords on a bass. You can even research with that. Let's try like a C major on just like the end of the fretboard. You can move to position 20. You have that? Great.
So which chord was that?
Just a C major with the 1-5 and the 3rd on the higher up. Yeah. See, there's something really nice in that area. It's very delicate and precise. It has like a sweet kind of attack, and then it decays kind of fast because the string is really short up here, you know?
Yeah, and you know, that's interesting, because as a keyboard player, I'm not used to getting the legato up there, right? But this is like just natural, something natural that happens on the string, because you're limited. Like with a keyboard, if I would go here and just add this note, it will actually add to the polyphony, but here...
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of get the polyphony up there, right? Like it's kind of limiting me, but it also gives me like some flexibility on being melodic up there.
Well, what's really cool about it? Yeah, that's beautiful. What's really cool about it is that these kind of limitations really, even without us knowing, they shape the styling of a player, let's say. So, like when the 5-string bass came along, you could do more with it, right? But there's still those limitations. So people go on adding strings and, you know, creating new instruments. But there's something about these limitations that kind of spark creativity in a way, you know? So if you're like, let's say you're a keyboard player and you're limited in that sense, it would necessarily make you, you know, play stuff that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah.
And these limitations also is what makes it be like really contextual as a bass, not just a keyboard instrument, you know? Very
cool.
Yeah. So what else? Do we have anything, or is this enough?
I think that's enough for today. I think that's pretty good. Man, thank you so much.
Nice. Man, my pleasure, man. It's great. High five. We did it.